How to Improve Absolutely Anything by Katie Labedz. Chapter 4, Take Out the Garbage. Eliminate waste from your life and your processes. Right now, picture your favorite gas station. Think of the one close to your home or your office, the one that you go to all the time. In On a piece of paper, write down all the steps required to fill your vehicle with gas. Number each step from the moment you pull into the station, including pumping and paying for gas and finally exiting the station. Perhaps you're thinking right now, wow, that's a lot of steps. You're right. So let's get started. Go. I like to use the gas station example when I'm working with a team, especially if they may not necessarily understand the complexity of a process and just how many steps are required to complete one of their routines. Honestly, I usually use this example with executives so that they understand the task from a 50-foot view instead of a 50,000-foot view. It can be highly effective to pull them out of the weeds. At the end of the activity, I facilitate a dialogue where we compare the number of steps on each person's list. On average, most executives tell me that they've listed 16 steps from pulling into the station, getting the fuel, paying for the gas, and leaving. Then I tell them how many steps I have listed in my documentation for the same process. Are you ready for this? 42 steps. When we start to review and read aloud the steps from the individuals and teams, we quickly find out that they skip some crucial steps, like putting the car in park. Some of them forgot to turn off the engine. Others neglected to take off their seatbelt. There's a lot more to a process than meets the eye. I encourage commentary as we review the steps. One of the most consistent questions that I hear is, why do you do it that way? Why do you lock your vehicle once you park it? Why don't you have your credit card ready in your pocket when you get out of the van? Why do you have to dump your purse out to find it? Why do you do it that way? This concept of the 5 whys encourages us to ask questions to identify the root cause of a problem and any opportunities there may be for improvement. Of course, 2 of the key factors to keep in mind are tone of voice and body language. The tendency might be to ask with your mother's voice and inflection, why do you do it like that? Instead, sometimes you have to channel a softer, kinder tone of your grandma and ask, can you please help me to understand why you approached it like that? Well, it seems straightforward. There are actually 3 different versions of any process. Number 1, the way the process is documented, like in a standard operating procedure, standard work instructions, job aids, directions on a website or box. For example, like the illustrated instructions on the fuel pump at the gas station. Number 2, the way you think the process works. So your mental vision of yourself pumping gas at the gas station. So if you close your eyes and you think about that. And number 3, the third version of the process is the way the process is actually done or the way the process actually works. For example, the lengthy physical pen to paper list of every single step required to complete the process. As you might imagine, these 3 versions vastly different from each other. Here's a couple of examples from the people I love. My dad is follically challenged. His normal routine is to get out of the shower, towel dry his hair, what's left, get dressed, and then put on his small black comb in his back pocket. You know, the one that all the dads in their 70s and 80s carry in their back pocket from the barbershop. Then he would go back into the bathroom, run the comb through the water, and comb his hair. 30 years into the marriage, my mom finally asked him about it. Why do you do that with your hair? You dry it and then you wet the comb and style it. Why don't you just style it when it's wet? Honestly, he has never thought about doing it that way. That was the way he's always done it, never taking a step back to see if there was a more efficient way to complete the process. Once mom pointed it out to him, he agreed, and it seemed silly. This is what happens to most of us when somebody objectively points out a blatant gap in the process. Often an obvious opportunity for improvement to save you time and often money. Once you can find those little nuggets, you can hone in to fix them and eliminate the waste. We have a couple tractors in our barn, and the tractors come with implements, heavy implements. These are not small tools that you can pick up and move by hand, and there never seems to be a good place to store them so that they're out of the way when they're not in use. Constantly picking up and moving each implement to a different spot before we can access another is a waste of time. My hubby came up with a genius idea to eliminate most of the waste of both time and space. He visited a restoration hardware store and bought some old doors, woods, and rolling casters, and he built platforms on wheels. Genius! Now we store the implements on individual platforms and we can wheel them all over the barn. We can move them close when we need them and roll them back when we're finished. It saves a huge amount of time and back pain. Maybe you don't think there is anything to trim or tweak in your routines, but with an average of 95% waste in any process, we're literally tripping over the excess in every process that we do every single day. Are you having a hard time seeing the waste? Can't see what's extra? Just ask your partner. They can likely point it out to you. We can often see the gaps in someone else's processes far before we can see our own. There are actually 8 types of waste that are common in most processes, and we can remember them with the acronym downtime. The name itself should put a little anxiety in your heart. This isn't the good type of downtime, like when you go on vacation and you have so much time on your hands. It's the other kind, like when the coach takes his best player out of the game because of an injury. Downtime is not a win. Think of the downtime on the manufacturing floor as the team members work to do a changeover. Think of the downtime as the jury waits for the judge to reach a decision. Think of the downtime over a holiday break when the kids are home from school and you have no idea what to do with them. Downtime keeps us from moving forward. The downtime acronym stands for defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. Let's break them down one at a time. Defects, plain and simple. This refers to the outcome that didn't turn out as expected. It didn't meet your needs or it didn't satisfy your customer's requirements. Recently, I bought a fancy square muffin pan from a high-end cooking boutique that hosts cake decorating parties on Tuesday night and prices even a spatula at $25. We all know who I'm talking about. This new muffin tin was touted as the pan to use for brownies and corn muffins. First time using it, corn muffins were so burnt that I had to use a knife to cut out the black parts and then put lots of butter on the remainder of the not so burnt parts just to drown out the taste of burnt corn. That's a defect. Another example is when you're trying to make a cute birthday cake for your kids, hoping to save some money because you don't want to spend the $100 on the bakery version. You believe that you can create the cake based on the inspiration picture, and it comes out so horribly wrong that your mermaid cake looks like Jabba the Hutt. That's a defect. Overproduction. Overproduction is producing more than was actually needed. Like when you intend to make spaghetti for 2, but somehow you end up with enough pasta to feed a family of 12. You know you've done that. Overproduction is leftovers from the fridge that have been there for an undetermined amount of time, but your husband asks if it's okay to eat them. It's also making onboarding folders in advance for a whole year in anticipation of expected new hires. It's continuing to operate a machine because you still have raw materials left over from the original customer order, though you have no orders for this particular part. You start either making extras in anticipation of another order, or because you think it costs too much if you don't keep that machine running every minute of every day. Waiting. Oh, hello. Perhaps you're familiar with the Department of Motor Vehicles or Secretary of State in your area. No offense to them or other government offices, but how many countless hours of your life have you lost waiting in that place or waiting for somebody to pick up the phone at the unemployment office. Perhaps you've spent some time watching your computer screen, staring at the spinning wheel of death, waiting for that report to run. You know what it's like to stand at the copy machine and wait for 100 copies of your presentation to finish printing, or what it's like to wait for the UPS driver to deliver the parts you need. You get it. You're no stranger to waiting. Non-utilized talent. In my opinion, this one is the far worst version of waste. This one gets personal. It's about you. It refers to your missed opportunities to work to your full potential, either because you don't know what you're capable of or because someone else doesn't recognize it. It's the most painful of errors. Let's say you're in the IT team as a business analyst and you're really good at making websites. You hear in a meeting that they're going to hire an outside contractor to update the company website, but you just can't muster up the courage to raise your hand to give it a try. You're too nervous to show them your portfolio, or no one ever asks if you have interest in doing this work. That's non-utilized talent. Or maybe your best friend decides to focus on physical fitness as a goal for the new year, and she never asks for your help, even though you've been friends for 100 years and you've been certified fitness instructor for 10 years. This term refers to being overlooked or underutilized for new opportunities, even though the idea of doing it may leave you scared shitless. Transportation. This aspect refers to the movement of goods, services, or information in a non-efficient manner. How many times do you walk to your kitchen or office only to stand there absently because you can't remember why you came? Or how often do you have to return something you have forgot? How many times are you going to move those boxes around your garage before you finally unpack from your recent move 2 years ago? Do you get frustrated emailing large files back and forth with your coworkers? It clogs up your email box and you end up having to delete or archive other emails just to send a new version. If you place that presentation on a shared drive, internal website, or team application, you can more easily share it and keep track of revisions. Next up is inventory. This is about acquiring more than you would actually consume. Hello, toilet paper hoarders of the world. I may or may not have a family member that's guilty of this habit. Inventory costs money. The longer an item sits on your physical or virtual shelf, the more it ends up costing you in the long run. You don't need more than you actually need. Inventory issues can creep in when you find yourself buying 5 boxes of cereal instead of 1. Let's be honest, they were on sale, but then they sit unopened on your pantry shelf until they expire and you may have to throw them out. Inventory waste can also happen if you buy 5,000 parts instead of 500 that you need to make your product. Or you might purchase an expensive software suite, even though you will only ever use the word processing and spreadsheet software, you leave the remaining apps unopened. You may or may not have this installed on your computer right now. Motion. This encompasses bending, stretching, reaching, grabbing, and I'm not talking about Pilates or yoga. Consider the motion of picking up toys from the family room every single night. Or how about getting on a chair, or let's be honest, climbing on the counter to find something on the top shelf like that turkey platter that you use once a year. I know of someone who walked into a manufacturing floor only to find 2 people sitting on cardboard boxes instead of chairs or stools. This was a waste of motion as they were trying to keep themselves balanced on the boxes without the right ergonomic support. Remember, we reviewed how to set up your desk in the 5S example. We talked about where to put your phone so you don't have to reach all the way across your desk to answer it. Yep, that's a waste of motion too. And excess processing. Simply, excess processing is overdoing it. More sparkle, more shine, more of anything that doesn't really need to be done, only to make it better in your mind. It's your compulsion to redo your kid's project or partner's presentation to make it look or flow better, especially if no one asked you to do that. It's shining that chrome on the new bike a little bit more before it comes off the line. It's giving me a presentation and binder full of material when I only asked for a spreadsheet of the names of the people that took my Greenbelt class last year. Access processing includes any details that go above and beyond the standard or actual deliverable. At the end of the day, it's a waste of time. Why is it important to know the downtime wastes? Because when you recognize them, you can work to eliminate them. You want to get so good at recognizing the waste in the process or situation that you can walk by and immediately automatically think to yourself, look at all that waste, so much motion and excess processing. Or this process would work so much better if we can just eliminate the transportation of the paperwork from one desk to the other. Waste is just an opportunity for improvement. It's the easy place to start to make a process or place better, more organized, or more efficient. Waste is more than a trash can full at the end of the driveway on Monday mornings. Let's get rid of it to save you time and add more value to everything you do.